Have you ever seen a man argue with the sunrise? In our village, we did. His name was Danda, and his war against work was a legend whispered by mothers to frighten lazy children. Our village was a symphony of life, cradled by ancient hills and blessed by the generous Niger River. At dawn, the sun didn't just rise, it poured liquid gold over the thatched roofs, waking the world with a painter's touch. The air hummed, a rich melody of grinding stones from the miller's quarter, the distant thump-thump-thump of yam being pounded in mortars, and the harmonious call-on response of farmers heading to the red earth fields. The very soil beneath our feet was a dark, fragrant promise, yielding cassava, yam, and greens for those who showed it love with their sweat. This was a place where your name was built by the calluses on your palms and the weight of the firewood you carried home at dusk. And then, there was Danda's corner. It sat on the eastern edge, a patch of persistent quiet. His heart, a little saggy at the shoulder, seemed to lean wearily against the mango tree, as if sharing in his exhaustion. While the rest of us moved to the vibrant rhythm of the day, Danda existed in a slow, stubborn drag. As women walked past with water pots balanced gracefully on their heads, a trail of laughter and dripping coolness in their wake, Danda would be right there, sprawled on a warm mat. All that walking for a drink, he'd mutter to the chickens pecking nearby. The river isn't running away, is it? His talent for idleness was, in its own way, masterful. He was a sculptor of excuses, each one more elaborate than the last. If the season was hot, the sun was a tyrant to be avoided. If it was the rainy season, the damp was bad for the bones. He watched young men like Chike return from the hunt, shoulders proud under the weight of a gazelle, and would simply shrug. Too much running. The animal was tired of life anyway, it came to him. His philosophy was a cloud that hung over his patch. Why chase the sun when the shade is so cool? He'd intone, as if revealing a great wisdom, his back firmly against his heart. Tomorrow has two hands, does it not? Let it carry today's burden. He saw our industry not as pride, but as a collective madness. He'd watch Elder Uche, whose back was as bent and strong as a seasoned cocoa tree, carefully tend his seedling nursery. Old man, Danda once called out, why plant a tree whose shade you may never sit in? Elder Uche had simply wiped his brow, looked at the horizon beyond the village, and said, someone planted the mango you lean against, boy. We are all drinking from wells we did not dig. The least we can do is dig for those coming after. But Danda would just yawn, a wide, cavernous gape that seemed to swallow the advice whole. He'd close his eyes, dreaming of a world ungoverned by the crow of the rooster, where yams jumped from the earth ready fried and waterfalls bent their streams directly to a man's mouth. He dreamed of a world where the word work had been forgotten, eroded from language like a pebble smoothed away by a lazy river. We didn't hate him. No. It was a heavier feeling, a pitiful fascination. He was a living parable, a warning in human skin. We knew, deep in our bones, that the earth has a covenant with the willing hand. It whispers its secrets only to those who kneel in it, who feel its heartbeat through their fingertips. For Danda, the soil was just dirt, the sun merely a light, and the relentless, beautiful toil of life was a puzzle he refused to solve. And as every elder knows, a puzzle that goes unsolved for too long has a way of rearranging itself. The stage was set, not for a miracle, but for a reckoning woven from the very roots and leaves he took for granted. The heat that afternoon was a physical weight, a thick, woolen blanket laid over the village. It was the kind of heat that stilled even the chickens, forcing them into silent, panting huddles in the dust. For Danda, however, it was perfect. As the rest of the world retreated, his kingdom of idleness expanded. He lay in the scant, shifting shade of his heart, ignoring the persistent plink, plink, of a single water droplet falling from his unmended roof into a small clay bowl. It was a metronome marking the passage of wasted time. His nap was deep, a swim in the dark waters of utter inertia, when the light changed. Not the light of the sun, but a cool, green-gold glow that fell across his closed eyelids. He stirred, annoyed, and opened his eyes. A man stood before him. He had not heard him arrive, there was no sound of feet on dry earth. The stranger was ancient, his skin like the cracked leather of a well-used farming satchel, mapped with a lifetime of furrows and lines. He wore simple, undyed cotton, But his bare feet were extraordinary. They were broad, the soles deeply fissured like the dry bed of a seasonal river, and they seemed to rest upon the ground not as a visitor, but as a continuation of it. In his gnarled, soil-stained hand, he held a single seed. It was this seed that held Danda's gaze. It was the size of an avocado stone, but it glimmered with an inner light, catching the harsh sun and fracturing it into hues of amber, deep emerald, and molten bronze. It seemed to pulse with a slow, dormant life. "You who listen to the soil's complaint less than your own," the old man said. His voice was not loud, but it carried the sound of the forest, the rustle of leaves in a high wind, the creak of ancient branches, the trickle of a hidden stream. It was a voice that spoke not to the ear, but to the root of things. Danda sat up, curiosity piercing his lazy fog for the first time in years. The old man extended his hand. "Plant this. Bury it not in just any earth, but in the patch where you spend your days dreaming. Then, you must water it. Only once at the precise moment the sun's first light kisses the horizon, and once more as the last sliver of its fire vanishes. Do this for 7 suns. No more, no less." Danda's mouth watered, but not with thirst. With anticipation. He leaned forward. "For this," the stranger continued, his eyes holding depth of torn soil and starless nights, "is the seed of Ojimpuru Ola, the tree of golden yield. It asks for little. It gives everything. Nurture it with this small, faithful rhythm, and it will grow, not in years, but in days. Its branches will bow not with common leaves, but with glowing, heavy fruit of purest gold. One fruit, plucked each moon, will feed you, clothe you, satisfy your every want. Your toil ends." The words were a spell, weaving directly into the deepest fabric of Danda's desires. Minimal effort. Endless reward. It was the perfect contract, the ultimate loophole he had always believed must exist. Visions exploded in his mind, a new hut built by others, piles of fried plantain appearing without fire, a lifetime spent exactly as he was now, but revered, not pitied, shaded by a tree that rained wealth. Greed, hot and urgent, obliterated all caution. He did not ask the old man's name. He did not question the magic. He saw only the solution to a lifetime of clever avoidance. With a swiftness he rarely exhibited, Danda snatched the shimmering seed from the gardener's palm. It was warm, almost humming in his grasp. 7 dawns. 7 dusks. "I understand," Danda said, his voice tight with excitement. The old man watched him, his expression unreadable, a quiet pond reflecting a storm. He gave a slow, almost imperceptible nod. "The earth remembers every promise, son of man." And then, as silently as he had come, he was gone. Not walking away, but simply on there, the air filling the space he had occupied. Alone, Danda clutched the seed, already tasting the lazy, gilded luxury to come. He laughed, a short, triumphant back at the heavy sky. He had outsmarted the very system of sweat and sun. All he had to do was remember, just 14 times, to pour a little water. It was, he thought, the easiest work he would ever do. For the first 2 dawns and dusks, a strange and foreign energy animated Danda. He would jerk awake with the roosters, gourd in hand, and march the arduous 20 paces to the stream. The shimmering patch of earth where he'd buried the seed seemed to drink the water with a soft, grateful sigh. On the second evening, he even fancied he saw a tiny, bronze-tipped shoot breaking the surface. A fierce, proprietary pride swelled in him. "See," he thought to the sleeping village. "My way is the true way." But by the 3rd morning, the dreadful arithmetic of effort reasserted itself. The walk felt longer, the gourd heavier. The morning dew was a cold insult on his ankles. As he trudged back, he watched Chak the hunter already returning with his tools, a man embracing the full day. 2 trips a day for this magic seed, Danda grumbled to himself, his initial excitement cuddling into familiar resentment. Even miracles demand too much. On the 4th day, he missed the dawn watering entirely, slipping through it as the seedling seemed to wilt under the climbing sun. A flicker of panic struck him at dusk, and he doused it with a double measure, muttering excuses to the silent air. The old man had said 7 days. He hadn't said the days had to be consecutive, surely. The 5th day broke, And the idea came to him with the brilliance of a perfect shortcut. It was an epiphany of laziness. Why be a slave to the sun's schedule, he proclaimed to an indifferent lizard. Water is water. The seed cannot tell time. The logic, in his mind, was flawless. Instead of making 12 more tedious journeys, he would solve it all in one grand, efficient gesture. With a grunt of effort, he hauled the largest water pot he owned to the stream, filling it to the brim. He staggered back, water slushing over the sides, a week's worth of duty in one back-breaking load. He stood over the small, now thirsty-looking shoot, its leaves tinged with brown. Have your fill, he panted, a triumphant smile on his face. Take it all at once and be done with it. He upended the heavy pot. The deluge hit the earth not with a soak, but a hiss. A profound, unnatural silence swallowed the compound. Then, the ground beneath his bare feet turned not to mud, but to a thick, hungry syrup. A terrible coldness, not of water but of deep, forgotten earth, shot up through his soles. He tried to yank his foot free, but it would not obey. It was sinking, the earth softening and hardening around it in a slow, merciless grip. A deep, woody stiffness seized his legs, crawling up his thighs. He looked down in horror to see the dark, patterned back of the Iroko spreading over his own skin. His outstretched arms, raised in a final, futile plea, locked in place against the sky. They stiffened, elongated, fingers branching into twigs that reached for a sun they could no longer feel. His panic slowed. His frantic heartbeats deepened, spaced apart, becoming the slow, rhythmic thump, thump, of sap rising in a mighty trunk. His last human thought was not of gold, but of the cool, relentless shade of the mango tree he had once leaned against. Then, thought itself dissolved into the patient, silent awareness of wood and leaf. Where Danda stood, a mighty Iroko tree now grew, towering and silent. Its roots, deep and grasping, drank from the very stream he had resented. Its branches offered vast shade, but no gold fruit, only ordinary leaves and the occasional, bitter pod. When the villagers found him, or rather, found the magnificent new tree where his hut had sagged, they understood. Elder Uche placed a hand on the rough, cool bark and felt not magic, but a profound, rooted lesson. The tree became known as Akoleke, the lazy hand. Its shade was sought by farmers after honest labor, a place to rest in the rhythm they had earned. They would point to it, saying, "See, nature has no patience for the idle hand. True nourishment is not a wish granted, but a seed tended in sweat, in faith, and in time." And the wind through its leaves sounded, forever after, like a long, tired sigh.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Folktale by T Vibes.